Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Course Creator Community Podcast. I am super excited because we have an absolute rock star in the space when it comes to generating revenue from course creation. A little bit about this person. He's the founder and CEO of Data Driven Marketing. They help online course creators increase their revenue by 20 to 300% through some awesome marketing funnels. This man's been building funnels for over 10 years. He's a digital nomad much of the time. He's coming to us all the way from the UK. It's super early in the morning here, so we're grateful to have him. Without further ado, let me introduce the one and only Mr. John Ainsworth. John, how are you?
I'm very good, Jono. Very glad to be here. Thanks very much.
No, thank you for coming on. John, I like to start all my podcasts off with a quote or mantra that inspires you or fires you up. Do you have one for us?
I do, yeah. So this is one that I got from James Clear, the guy who wrote Atomic Habits. It says, most of the excuses I made, not enough time, not enough money, not enough connections, not the right knowledge, were just ways to avoid the real bottleneck, not enough courage. There was always a
Wow.
small step I could have taken if I had the guts to take it.
Yes, love it. And have you used that one recently, John? Did something come up and you're like, hey, I'm going to do it?
Try and use it all the time. I figure out that there's a lot of stuff in life where there's something you could do, there's something that would allow you to move forwards towards the goal, and it looks like there's two options. It looks like you could do this or you could do this, and actually there's like 137 different things you can do. You can just let go of the excuses if you can just focus on, right, well, what are my options, what can I control, let me go and do something. And I have to remind myself of that all the time, because I default back to like oh, I can't do that, and therefore I can't do it. It's like, no. Come on, John. You got this, man. So yeah, I use that a lot.
Yes, love it. Awesome. Now, John, I've obviously been following you for a while now. I've had a good look on your website too, which I recommend everyone check out. If you're listening to this, go to the show notes. I've got a link to John's website in there. There's a couple cool things going on there. He's got a free training, which I recommend everyone check out. But what he's also got, which is really cool, is a bit of a calculator where you hit that, you type in the amount of traffic you're getting now, and it can calculate the potential revenue that you could generate if you had your funnels set up correctly. So I recommend go to John's website and check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes. But John, if you can give us an overview in a couple minutes, what is it you actually do there?
Yeah. So what we do is we help people who've got courses and have got some kind of an email list or traffic convert more of the visitors into leads, leads into sales, and sales into higher revenue sales. So overall, we're trying to help people to increase their revenue like 20 to 300%, like we said. And that the way that you do that is through a combination of things like opt-ins, email marketing, webinars, upsells, order bumps. We can get into all of the details, but like that's the basic concept. Is most people in the course creator space really stink at converting visitors into leads, leads into sales, and those sales into higher revenue. And it's not in any way their fault. It's not like a thing that they have screwed up. It's that they have focused. Most course creators that I talk to are people who have really focused on becoming an expert in a topic, learning how to create a great course that people love about that topic and really help people, and then start to create content so they're driving traffic in as well, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or podcast or what have you. And they really focus on that part, and those two are vital. Without those two, the bit that I'm doing doesn't really help. But they've somehow either not known about or not worked on the part in the middle. How do you convert the visitors all the way through into making a bunch of money from it? And so that's I think it's just incredibly important, and I find it very rewarding because so many course creators are really good people. You know, they really want to help people, and the courses they create, then they do help people. So like all the work we do kind of has this ripple effect, this knock-on effect. And course creators generally are hugely underpaid,
Mm.
and they deserve a lot of times to be making a lot more money. And so we get to help them to do that, which is very, very gratifying. We had a client the other day, he hit $100,000 in a month for the first time, and his
Ooh.
previous best was like 30,000 or something like that. the smile on his face was just like he spent the whole meeting. He just couldn't stop smiling. It was wonderful to see.
Love it. Well, I'm sure all the listeners are keen for that, because I know there's a lot of them in that position where they're like, John, I've got a course, I'm posting on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the stuff, but I'm not really making any money. So I'm curious to hear what you've got to say. Let's break down those three things. Which order should we go? Because I'm guessing we can go either way. We can either go with start with the more how do we make more revenue per sale, or we start
That's
with
what
the
I
how to
suggest to everybody. Making more revenue per sale it's the easiest way to increase your revenue. It's the least work. It's the 80-20 of the 80-20. And if someone's not making any sales at the moment, okay, it doesn't help. But if they're making some, then every time they make one sale, they make an extra 30 to 50% more revenue. So do you want me to talk you through the kind of things that you can do there that work?
Yeah, I can't wait. Yes, please.
So there's two very simple, very straightforward things that you can do that almost nobody does. They're upsells and order bumps. And the concept of these, and I'll explain what each of them is, and then kind of go through the ideas of them and then how to do it. So an order bump is when somebody is on the checkout page and they're buying from you, having a tick box with something else they can buy as well. So a lot of people get confused between these two, but that's an order bump. Whereas an upsell is they've bought something, they put in their credit card details. On the confirmation page, you then offer them something else they just click a button and it adds it to their order as well. So that's an upsell, the second one. So an order bump, the basic idea of it is very normal in everyday life. And somehow it hasn't become normal for course creators. I'd say 95% of people don't do this. So if you go to McDonald's and you order a burger, they're going to ask, do you want fries with that? If you go and you buy a cinema ticket, they're going to have some popcorn available that you could get as well at the same time. It's just the way things are done. It's normal. There's always these additional little things that you could get to. Even if you go into the supermarket, by the checkout, they've got all the chocolate bars, right? It's like an impulse buy. It's a little extra thing that you can get that goes along with what you're already buying. And that's the basic concept of an order bump. It's been around for thousands of years. It's not a new thing, but most course creators just aren't doing them. And what I think people don't realize is a few crucial ideas about them. One is that if you get it right, 60% of people who are buying from you will also buy the order bump. Like 60 to 70% of people. And it's not like that's going to happen by default. You've got to have the right offer. You've got to have the right language to go with it, and you've got to have the right price. But it's not that hard to do that. That's not rocket science. We had a client, I went through this with him on a strategy call. So he hasn't even signed up for our program at that point. And he went away and he implemented it all. He put order bumps on every single thing that he had. And he was making like 30% more revenue within 4 days.
Wow.
I had a client last week who's going through our program who set up his order bump. And on his first day, 6 people who bought from him, 4 of them bought the order bump as well.
Wow.
It's like, it's not that hard. And very few people do it.
Anyone listening if you're listening now, press pause and go and do it. Or if you're in the car, as you're driving, press pause, think of what the order bump's going to be, go home and do it. That's the tip that anybody could do right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of software makes it pretty easy to do. Not all.
Yeah, that was my next question. Do you have a software recommendation or?
Well, I generally don't recommend people go and change whatever software they're using.
Okay.
Because it's so time consuming to change software. So if, for example, you had software that doesn't have order bumps, but it does have upsells, ignore the order bumps for the moment and just do the upsells.
Gotcha.
But for example, Teachable just added order bumps in. They've had one-click upsells for a while. They've just added order bumps in like 2 weeks ago. You can do it in Thinkific and Kajabi and ClickFunnels and a bunch of different software that uses WordPress. There's loads of software that does it. A lot of them do. So just check out whether the software you're using for your checkout does. Thrivecart, for example, loads of them do it.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay. Good tip with the order bump. The upsell. Any tips there, John?
Yeah. So the idea of an order bump is something that goes alongside what they're buying. An upsell is the next logical step.
Okay.
So let's say that they're buying a course about they're buying a course on funnels, well, then maybe the next step is going to be Facebook ads. So then the upsell is a Facebook ads course. Or you're selling something about managing your finances. Well, maybe the next one is about then investing. Or you're selling a course on language learning and you've got the beginner level course, they're buying that. Or maybe the upsell is the bundle of the beginner, intermediate, and advanced courses.
Gotcha.
Or they're buying a membership for a month, the upsell is a year's membership. Like, it's kind of, there's a couple of ways of looking at it. What's the obvious next thing for them to do? Or what's the bundle? Or can they buy more of what they've already got?
Gotcha.
There's this thing in the e-commerce space, whereas if you sell somebody a t-shirt or a box of supplements, the upsell page is you sell them 3 of the same thing. Now, they could have bought 3 on the first page, but they didn't. So how come that works? I don't know. It works. E-commerce, it goes 1, 3, 7. You offer 3 of the thing and then 7. It's just like, that's how these things work. So figure out what else is there that they could buy next. But the crucial thing I see most people go wrong here is they think, I figured out the perfect upsell somebody could get. I have to go and build that. And it gives them an excuse to go make another course. It's like, no, what have you got? What have you got that you think could work? And to give people kind of an idea of how these work, about 15 to 30% of people will buy the upsell. So 60% with the order bump, about 15 to 30% with the upsell. And the upsell can be about the same price as the original thing, or a little bit more expensive, or a little bit less. So let's say your original course someone's buying is $99. The upsell could be 79 or 99 or 149, something in that kind of region, right? Something like that. Whereas the order bump was probably going to be like $37, something kind of like that. And the idea of an upsell is like, this is, again, is not a new concept. It's not a course creator only thing. It's been around for forever. You know, you go buy, you want to go buy a car, they're going to offer you the more expensive version of the car. You know, you're not just buying the little bits that go along. So you can get, you can get the premium one. You can get buying a Golf, you can buy a Golf GTI. You're buying it, you know, there's always the more expensive version you can buy. So that's the kind of concept there.
Love it. Love both of those tips. I think, it's something anyone can do right now. And especially, as John mentioned, don't go and create or build another thing. Look at what you've got. And I've even seen some of the book people do it well. You know, it's like, hey, buy the book, but then the audio is the order bump, you know, where it's like or the video version is there's different mediums of it, you know, hey, download this thing here, but you want the ebook as well, you know, that's extra, or, you know, there's different variations there. So, and I've even seen, I saw another really cool thing the other day. You might like this. The order bump, or it might have been the upsell, I can't remember which one. It was like a collation of things. So it was like, I can't remember what the exact thing was, but it was like, hey, buy my course. And then the upsell was you also get these 10 podcasts from the biggest names in the industry. The person selling it didn't own those podcasts. It wasn't, let's say if I was selling it, it wasn't, hey, here's my 10 best podcast with Russell Brunson and, you know, Tony Robbins or whatever. It was like, you know, Tony Robbins on this podcast, Russell Brunson on this podcast. And they sold that. You know, it wasn't even any of their work. It was just collating the list and then selling the list. And I was like, okay, that was clever. So I think there's options there as well, where it doesn't even, they still obviously put the work together and put the list or whatever. But I think there's options there. So I love that. So good tips there. And I think that's something anyone can do now to increase their revenue if they're making sales. Let's go to the next point then, John. So let's say someone's already got an email list, but they're not doing too well selling that email list. Not a big email list, a couple hundred, maybe 1,000, but not really making any sales. What sort of tips can you give us there?
So what I typically see with someone's email list is that they have 3 promotions a year. That's the most common thing I hear from everybody, is like, I do one on Black Friday, do one on maybe July 4th or whatever, you know, a national holiday is, and one on New Year's. And then that's it. And I don't want to send more email promotions because my email list will get annoyed and they'll unsubscribe. And it takes a lot of time writing these email promotions. So that's what I normally hear. So if anybody's thinking that, I just want you to know that's exactly normal. That's what everybody else thinks. And there is ways around it. You know, going back to what I said at the beginning about people think there's either 2 options. It's this or it's that. Send the email promotions and be annoying, or don't send them and don't make money. There's other options. There's other ways around it. So what we're looking to do is send more regular and more charming email promotions. So I'm going to give you the very simple version that everybody could do straight away. This is not the advanced, absolute best email promotion, but it's one that everybody can do. All course creators are happy with, and it doesn't take very long. So here's what you do. Let's say you've got 6 courses that you're selling, just for sake of argument, right? Every month, over the course of 6 months, you're going to do a promotion for one of those courses. And in the promotion, what you're going to do is you're going to send 6 emails in 1 week. 5 of the emails are tips from in your course, a very small little tip, something that someone could implement in 2 minutes to 5 minutes. So they can read the email and get a little buzz because they did the thing, they got the benefit. You're not giving away the whole course. You're not giving away, enormous amounts. You're just giving little tiny tips, smaller the better. At the beginning and end of that promotion, you mention that their course is on sale this week. It's only for this week and it's 30% off. And then on the 5th day, so Friday, you send an email 3 hours before the cart closes saying the cart is going to be closing soon. It's called a going, gone campaign, but we're just doing the gone bit, the very, very last email, just saying the cart is closing. It's like 2 or 3 sentences, this email. And you can we learned this from Digital Marketer. It's a really nice campaign. It brings in the most sales of any type of email. I've actually just recorded a podcast on that topic. It's not live yet, but we're going to have one go up on our podcast about that. And so people can just send that one email 3 hours before. And that way, what happens is 2 things. 1, easy to write because you've already got these tips. You just pull them out of the course. 2, people love getting them because they're all useful, helpful tips. And 3, you make a bunch of sales. Now, what's going to happen with that is you will make us about, depending on how warm your email list, somewhere between 0.1 and 0.5% of your email list will buy.
Okay.
Now, if you've got only a little email list, okay, it's not that many people, right? If you've got a big email list, that adds up to quite a lot. So that's just to give you an idea of it. But it's really important to get started doing this and get kind of the hang of doing it and make sure that you are, getting better at doing it, because long term it's going to pay off, even if your email list isn't that big at the moment.
Love it. Let me just clarify that a little bit. So we're saying 6 different courses. Every month there's a different promotion on one of those courses. And then you just repeat that again the second month.
Exactly.
And then in each month, there's just 1 week where you send the emails. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Awesome. Gotcha. So it's like for 3 weeks or whatever, no emails are sent, no worries. But
you send, like, in those 3 weeks, you might send some useful content emails that aren't specific to a course.
Gotcha. So it might just be an email a week. Hey, here's a podcast I did, here's the YouTube video I did, whatever it may be. And then one of those weeks where you go hard and you're like, all right, every day I'm going to send it. It's one little tip. And I like how you said that. And would an example be this, John? Even what you've mentioned there, an email might be like, hey, right, you want to make more money off your course sales? Do an order bump. Here's what an order bump is. Do it. Hey, by the way, I got a course on this. Buy it. The next day, hey, another way to do it? Do an upsell. Here's what an upsell is. Go and add it in your thing now. By the way, I've got a course on this. Next day, another tip. That's all we need, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
And you can make those more advanced. You can put in case studies and testimonials and video content. You can, but you don't start with that. You start with just a tip a day and then top and tail it with 30% off this week only.
Love it. And so good because it's not a lot of work. It's a good sale. It's a fair sale. It's not like over the top. There's always something new as well. And I guess even because there might be a lot of people listening to this with 1 or 2 courses. Question with that, you could still sort of use it, right? Where
Absolutely.
it's like, and this is slightly different. This week you get a free one-on-one call. This week here you get some other bonus that I've got together. You can still slightly tweak it like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you just need a different. Let's say you've only got 1 course, right? And it's $300. Okay, well, what you're going to do is you're going to have a different angle on it every time that you do a promotion. Like you say, you've got a different bonus, or you promote it in a different way. In that case, maybe one time you're doing a webinar, or you're doing maybe your course is about language learning and you're selling it to 8 types of people who like to travel, people whose spouses from another country, people who like learning languages. And so every time you do a promotion, you do it for one of those different audiences and you have a different angle on it, right? This time we're going to be talking about travel and the joy of travel, and don't forget you get a discount on the course, or maybe you can't do a discount every time if you're doing just one course. So maybe you get a different bonus that fits with that. You've got to play with this a little bit if you've only got one course. If you've got 10 courses, it's easy.
Oh, yeah.
You could do 2 a month and you just cycle through them, right? If you've only got one, you're going to have to be a bit more ingenious on it.
Gotcha. Awesome. All right. Cool. And I just had another idea there as well. That could even be some affiliate potential there as well, right?
That's true.
Which pair with someone else.
Yeah. You got one course. Okay, well, fine. 1 month you do yours.
Yeah.
Let's then promote some other people's stuff that's relevant for your audience.
Yeah.
Use the same kind of email sequence. If you can find other things to promote, I would say the ideal is 2 email promotions a month. That's what we do for our clients normally. And yeah, affiliates, like if you've got a little list or you've got a bit of a list and you've got one course and you haven't made the others yet, I think affiliate stuff is a great way to do it because then you're making some money.
Awesome. Wow. Another amazing tip. Okay, let's move on to the last bit now. So, we know how to increase more revenue. We know how to make more sales. What about if we're not getting any opt-ins? We've got a heap of followers on Instagram. We're doing YouTube videos, podcasts, posting in Facebook groups, but we're just not getting any opt-ins. How can you help us there, John?
So it varies depending on what medium you have got the following on. Do you want me to start with website traffic or Instagram?
Yeah. Up to you.
Okay, cool. So website traffic, what I normally see is most people have got an opt-in rate of about 0.5 to 1%. And most people have got an opt-in of a newsletter. Now, if you make it really sing, you can get to normally about 5% is the average. The highest we've got any of our clients to is 9.3%.
Okay.
But everybody can get to about 3, on average 5. So somewhere in that kind of 3 to 7% is pretty normal. So there's a bunch of things you can do. They're all very straightforward. Have a pop-up. That's the easiest one to put in place and makes the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Make sure you've actually got a lead magnet, not just a newsletter opt-in. So what's some free, useful resource people can get that they can consume instantly, ideally. So as in, not an ebook, not a course, but a template, a swipe file, an example, a case study they could just watch and like feel like they've got the value out of it. Something really, really quick as the lead magnet. Then you want to put that lead magnet in more places. We've talked about the pop-up. We'll also put it in your sidebar if you've got one. If you've got blog posts, then put it throughout the blog posts. If you've got a very long blog post, let's say 2,500 words, maybe have it at the top, middle, and bottom. If you want to see an example of this, then paintable.cc is a digital painting website, and they have this done beautifully. It looks really, really nice in all of their blog posts, and they get a really good opt-in rate from it as well. That was a client of ours. We helped to kind of set that up. So that's on-site. That's like the easiest things you can do on-site.
That's amazing.
If you are off-site, so Instagram, YouTube, what have you, again, point people to your lead magnet everywhere that you can. So, for example, on YouTube, mention it during your podcast, during the YouTube video, maybe, wherever it happens to fit. So a good example for this is a guy called Ben Dizwolski, and he runs WOD Prep, so workout of the day, CrossFit stuff. And he has lead magnets on a few different topics. So for example, how to do chin-ups really well. So if he's doing an advanced chin-up video, then he'll say, but if you're just getting started with chin-ups, go and download our free guide on how to do chin-ups. And here's the website address for it. And then he carries on with the video. Then also have it mentioned at the end of the video, and maybe if it's a really long one, maybe halfway through as well, and put it in the notes at the bottom of, underneath the video. So same thing with Instagram, same thing with podcasts, like just reference it, point people to it. You'll need to have a landing page for it. And the landing page, you can look up, lead magnet landing pages. There's loads of templates online about kind of what you should have on there. But what we find is if you drive traffic from social media, you get a really, really high opt-in rate, like 70, 80% if you've done a good lead magnet and a good lead magnet page, and then you're pointing people who are warm from watching your content.
Love it. Wow. So good there again. Let me summarize some of that. So there's the website, the pop up, such a good one. I didn't have one for ages, John, because I was like, I hate pop ups, you know. But then I realized, but then I realized like people are just so used to them. If they don't like it, they'll just close it. They're not going to be
Yeah.
like, oh, this guy had a pop up. I'm going to leave this site and then never come back. It's like if they want to, they'll enter their details in. If they don't, I'll close it. And yeah, love that one there. Lead magnet, yeah, 100%. Who wants to opt into a newsletter? You know, I would never opt into a newsletter. And then the multiple places. So easy just to think like, yeah, I've got a pop up. Well, hold on. There's about a million other places you can put it on a website, you know? So I love that. And then, yeah, I love the social media stuff or the off page stuff as well. You know, you need the lead magnet, mention it like Instagram. Okay, great. You've got it in your bio, but how many people are just, you know, oh, I'm going to go to John's Instagram bio and see what his lead magnet is. No one does that, you know, but if you mention it in your stories, in your post, if it's in the text, if it's in the actual video, you know, um, yeah, love that there in the landing page. Awesome tips. I want to be sensitive of your time, John, but so there's a couple of questions I want to finish up with, but I love everything you've mentioned there. Everything there was just so actionable. You know, someone can look at these things and be like, you know what? That's something I can do. I still recommend go and reach out to John because there's a lot more than just, oh, let me put an order bump in, you know, or, oh, great, let me put a pop up in, right? So I recommend reaching out to John, but really, really good tips there. One of the questions I like to finish up with, John, revolves around mentors. So I'm curious, you're obviously a mentor for plenty of course creators out there. I'm curious to hear who your mentors have been. And if you could answer this in a few different ways, if you could give us a mentor that you've paid money to, so you've hired them to coach you or you've done their online course or whatever it may be, a mentor that you haven't paid money to. So, you know, you follow them on social media, you know, watch their YouTube videos, listen to their podcast, whatever it may be. And then a book or two that you recommend every course creator should read if they want to be successful in the online course space.
Okay. So in terms of the paid mentor, I've been going through a program called Black Belt from a guy called Taki Moore.
Yes, the Australian.
Exactly. Yes.
Or maybe New Zealand. Is he Australian or New Zealand?
No, he's Australian. Yeah.
Australian. Yeah.
And he runs this program called Black Belt, and it's for helping people who run group coaching programs. So we did this work for clients as a done for you service for a long time, and we found that a lot of people couldn't afford to pay us for that. So we built up a done with you program where we help people to do it themselves, and we kind of support them. And so I've been learning from Taki through Black Belt how to do that. That's been phenomenal. Really, really great example. Really great guy. Really fits with our values in terms of how to run group coaching programs. A mentor, somebody I haven't met but learn a lot from, is ancient Roman dude called Marcus Aurelius.
Okay.
So he was a Roman emperor back in, I don't know, 2000 years ago, something like that. And he made himself like a diary, like a journal to refer to of how to live life according to the Stoic philosophy. And it was only ever designed for himself to look at, but a copy of it was kept afterwards, and it's now being published. And so you can read, there's a book called The Daily Stoic, and it's got a lot of stuff in there from Marcus Aurelius. And I read that every morning, and it's like a reminder of how to be a good person, live a good life, stay calm, not let your emotions carry you away. Lots of just really good philosophies about how to live life. And the third one, I would say, in terms of like learning about funnels, .com Secrets is like a great starting book on how to understand this funnel concept and idea. It doesn't teach you quite enough in terms of the details of how to implement it all, but it gets you pretty excited about it, and it gives you the overall understanding of it. And I think that's a great book from Russell Brunson.
Yes, love it. Interesting. So out of all those answers there, Taki Moore is the most popular answer I get when I ask people their paid mentor. The Freed one, I've never, like, I hear that guy's name, the Roman emperor, all over Instagram and Pinterest. I always see his quotes, but I've never read his book. I will purchase that and give it a read. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of Russell Brunson myself. I actually prefer his second and third books are my favorite. I love that, and I think they get better, to be honest. I like .coms, and then I liked the Expert Secret one, and then the Traffic Secret one I think is my favorite book ever. So I'm
Wow.
glad that you brought them up. John, that's pretty much all I wanted to get through today. Is there anything I should have asked you but forgot to? Or is there anything you want to finish us off with?
I think in terms of finishing off, I would just say don't underestimate the power of all of this stuff, the building out of the funnel, but do remember that it's a combination of three things. You've got to have great courses, you've got to have traffic from somewhere, and you've got to have the funnels in between. And if you've got the three of those, you can absolutely crank. If you only have 2 out of 3, you're going to find that you kind of struggle. So like combine the 3 of those together and you're going to do really well. And then if anybody is like, okay, this sounds great, I could do with some more help with it. Like we've got a whole program that's all about how do you implement all the stuff I went through today. So if you do want help, just reach out and let me know and we're here for you.
Awesome. All right, John. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Nice stuff. Thanks, Jono.